This trade proposal for the Toronto Maple Leafs is ridiculous, and a Leafs prospect was named Captain Canada for the upcoming World Junior Tournament. We'll break all this down for you coming up on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get into it, just want to say that 82.3% of you guys watching this aren't subscribed, so if you're looking for a home to daily NHL, daily Leafs content, look no further, go down below, hit that subscribe button, come part of the community here because we'll be here all season long. Keep me up to date on what's happening around the league. But with that said, let's get right into the first topic of the video today, which is Fraser Minten is Captain Canada. Now, as we take a look here, Hockey Canada released their leadership group for the upcoming tournament that starts on Boxing Day. We see here that Leafs prospect Fraser Minten earns the C alongside Owen Beck, Lamoureux, Portois, and Savoy as the A's as well. And as we see here, a pretty cool thing that happened here was that John Tavares FaceTime Team Canada to make the captaincy announcement. As we all know here, Fraser Minten did live with Tavares and his family during his time in Toronto this season, and Fraser Minten said he got pretty close with him and his boys when he was there, so it was pretty sweet that that happened. And he also went on to say about John Tavares, he's such a professional. The way he carries himself is so contagious, and that's something you can pick up from a guy like that. Just how much being a pro can rub off on other guys. And Mark, obviously, this is great news if you're a Leafs fan, because I mean, you know, one of your top prospects is being named captain to the World Junior Tournament, one of the biggest Hockey Canada tournaments of the year in a lot of people's eyes. And I know that Sheldon Keefe has spoke very high on him about his leadership and about his talent. And it's just really nice to see this guy, you know, get to see be Captain Canada for this tournament. I really think it speaks volumes to the type of player he'll be, you know, going into next season with the Leafs.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. That's such a big honor for a guy like this as well. This is the first time he's made the World Juniors roster. Getting named captain is just such a big accomplishment. When you look at just Canadian sports, if you're looking outside of just the NHL, you go Olympics, and then the World Juniors is just behind it. So this is just such a big moment. But with Minten himself, we've seen so many people, this is just executives, players, coaches, just saying how coachable he is and how big of a leader he is at just 19. In the diversity tournament they had during the summer, apparently he was the most vocal guy on the bench. He was just going around, making sure everyone's heads up. When they had a bad game, he was the loudest on the bench, making sure everyone was still in the game. We've seen it in preseason. We've seen it when he was on the Leafs for his quick stint with them before he got sent to the WHL. And when he got to the WHL, he got named captain of his team before being traded. So you look at this guy, and just at this age, having this much of a leadership role, it does sound a lot like John Tavares. We've seen him in Long Island. He was captain there, he was captain of Toronto. And Minten is almost looking like he might follow behind in these footsteps of just being a big leader. It wouldn't surprise me if Minten is a captain at some point of his career in the NHL, if that's with the Leafs or another team. It depends. But it's just awesome development. I think it's great for Minten, the Leafs organization, and just for Canada itself, watching a young guy like this come in and hopefully lead Canada to a World Juniors championship.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this guy. I mean, this is a guy we've talked about a lot here on the channel. This guy's a 200-foot player. I'm really excited to see him play in this tournament, and I'm really excited for all these to see all these prospects in this tournament. It's going to be really fun to watch, and I think Fraser Minten's really going to make a name for himself here. I know he did play 4 games with the Leafs this season, but I really do think we'll see him back next year at a a higher role. I think he'll be in, I'd say, most of the season next year. He's a great player, and he has such a high ceiling, and I'm really excited to see what him and Cowan can do in this upcoming tournament.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. You kind of look at Minten and Cowan. We drafted Cowan this year. Minten was the year before, I believe. But when you look at these guys, they weren't on the radar just in Canada itself, really around the league. Not a lot of people talked about them. But during this short stint of preseason leading into Christmas, these guys have made a name for themselves. Everyone around the league should know these guys, especially a guy with like Minten being named captain. Cowan's been amazing, honestly, when you look at Team Canada as well. So seeing these guys make a name for himself, like you said, is just awesome. I know that the Leafs have said they're untradeable and they're not being moved in any circumstances. And I absolutely love that they're committed to these guys and letting them develop and hopefully become the Leaf and win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, we're really excited to watch this tournament that begins on Boxing Day. We got a lot of Leafs prospects in this tournament, and all eyes are going to be on Minten and Cowan while watching these games. Really hope that these guys go out there and pour it on and showcase their ability to the entire world. But we're going to get into our second topic of the video today, which is this trade proposal is ridiculous. And as we see here, this was a trade proposal between Toronto and Calgary. And Toronto in this trade would receive Elias Lindholm, Chris Tanev, and Calgary, going back the other way, would be TJ Brody, Calle Yarncroke, Tapi Niemela, 2024 first round pick, and a 2026 first round pick. And Mark, I know we kind of discussed this before we come on, but I mean, this trade proposal, I mean, I think Toronto's given up a little bit too much here.
Yeah, when you look at it, if you just wanted to pull it up on the screen again, this is the Leafs getting two rentals and a guy like Lindholm and Tanev. And I think this is almost too much value where you move your top defensive prospect, a guy like Brody that's been good for the organization, a good middle six winger that can jump around the lineup, and two first round picks. Like I said, Lindholm's great. This is a guy that could come in, fill out your third line. He could slot to the wing if you wanted to. And a guy like Tanev would come in and be great on the any pairing, top pairing, middle pairing, bottom pairing. But the problem with this is you move a guy like Brody, who's a great defensive defenseman. I know Leafs fans might not love him at all time, but analytic darling, he's been outstanding on the defensive end. You move a guy like Niemela, who, like I said, is the top prospect for the Leafs when it comes to defensemen, and two first-round picks. I think it's almost too much of an overpayment, especially that you're getting these guys back with the chance of losing both of them. And then what do? You don't have a guy like Brody that can come back next year. You don't have Niemela that'll eventually make it into the Leafs lineup. You lose Yarncroke, who's been a great piece, and those two firsts that you can't use in another deal. I think it's too much of an overpayment. I do think they benefit the Leafs, but I think this is where you could almost just wait it out and try to get a better option for cheaper.
Yeah, I think like bringing both these guys in would really help them push towards the Stanley Cup. But like you said, these are both expiring guys, and when Toronto has so many guys who are expiring already, with Domi and Bertuzzi and Klingberg, just to name a few, I mean, this is a lot of contracts that you got to worry about during the end of the season, trying to get some of these guys back, and it's just a lot of roles that you'll have to fill. I think if you're Toronto, I think you try to go after one of these guys and not both of them at the same time. I think you're going to get better value there. But we're going to take a look here. It just says why this makes sense for the Leafs. Obviously, they're you're getting a guy in Lindholm who's a Selke finalist, a guy like Tanev who's a stay-at-home defenseman who provides excellent defense and physical game. And they basically say here that if William Nylander does resign, you could see Tanev get enticed to stay back to Toronto long term. But however, if the Leafs are unable to sign Nylander, a good backup plan here would be Elias Lindholm. And obviously, Mark, Elias Lindholm is a good backup plan, but he's not William Nylander. You want to go after this guy. You want to throw everything but the kitchen sink to get Nylander back here. And like I said, I really do think that you need to get one of these guys more so. Maybe try to get Tanev just as a one-for-one trade, or add a prospect and a pick in and to get him as well. I really don't think that you really need to go after Elias Lindholm if you're Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like I said, Lindholm would be great. This is a guy you could slot into your top six if you wanted to put him at center, move Tavares to wing, or vice versa, and place Tavares still center. But the big problem with this takes minutes away from a guy like Nyes, Yarncroke. Well, if he was being a part of this trade, not really. But then you have so many players, Robertson, Domi, that would almost slide in to a lower position or out of the lineup. And I think the Leafs' third line has looked good. I think the top six, I mean, we've seen Matthews, Feast, Nylander's looked great, Tavares, Marner, Nyes, Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi's a guy that hasn't put up a lot of points, but statistics-wise, he looked incredible. So it's hard to bring in another forward and push another guy out. Like you said, there is a lot of UFAs on this team going into the offseason. So adding two more, if you kind of strike out and don't get any of these guys back, it leaves the Leafs in a really awkward situation of having no draft capital for the next 2 years. You lose your top defensive prospects, and you lose a guy like Yarncroke who's locked up on an amazing team-friendly contract. So, in my opinion, you stay far away from this. If you can get a guy like Tanev for maybe a first, and if he's retained, sure, go for that. But you don't move your top defensive prospect, a first, and a roster player to bring a guy like Tanev in.
Yeah, and I really do think that Toronto's, say, top nine has been great offensively and defensively so far this season. I know that a lot of people are saying that their defense needs a little bit of work. So, like I said here, this is why I think you go after a defenseman in this deal, kind of leave Lindholm, because, like you said, and then, like I said, you don't really want to be left with all these expiring guys and then not potentially be able to get any of them back at the end of the season. So, but we do see why this would make sense for Calgary here, and obviously Calgary will be getting a lot here in this deal. They'd be the winners of this trade if it did go through, in my opinion. Obviously, they say they got a lot of UFAs coming up, like Tanev, Hannafin, Lindholm, and getting two pieces back in Brody and Yarncroke could really help them retool for this year, and then they get two future first round picks that if they go into, say, a rebuild, this could really help them out. And obviously, America, I mean, if you're Calgary, you're jumping for joy if this trade goes through, because you're kind of set up for the future. You're kind of set up for the present, because you can move these picks to get other guys in to kind of retool your team. Or if you're going into a rebuild, I mean, that's two first round picks that you're just, laughing to have.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like I said, it's too much to give up. If you can get Tanner for maybe a first, maybe a prospect or a second, kind of figure out, I think that works out perfectly. If not, I'd hang up the phone and I would just start calling around. There's teams around the league that are going to be selling, especially close to deadline, and you can get options that are kind of a 10 of caliber for a lot cheaper than what they're offering here.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you here. It's a very interesting proposal. We'll have to see what happens, because I really do think the Leafs will be very active come trade deadline, and we'll keep you guys up to date on everything that happens around the Leafs with trades and rumors and all that stuff. So make sure just go down, subscribe to be a part of it, because we're gonna keep you guys up to date on everything that happens come trade deadline. We're really excited for that to happen. But we're gonna get in everybody's favorite topic here, and that is comment of the day. And the comment of the day today goes to our boy Curtis. He says, "Merry Christmas, guys. Hope the weather holds up down east for you." Shout out to you, Curtis. Hope you have a good Christmas as well. Merry Christmas to everybody watching this. Happy holidays. We're on Christmas Eve right now. Santa's coming down the chimney tonight. Really hope Santa's good. It's all you guys watching this video. But the weather here is fine. We got a little bit of snow out there. Not too bad yet. So, fingers crossed. But, yeah, it's going to be a great Christmas. Hope all you guys have a good Christmas. And we're actually thinking about doing some video submissions for comment of the day. So if you want to send a video in to ask your question, let us know down below if you guys are interested in that. Really love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to go down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 3,000 subscribers, so we really appreciate it if you went down, hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed the NHL, make sure to check this video that's popping up on your screen right now. But as always, I've been your host KC alongside my co-host Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.